Hello everybody, it's Holger Mueller here from Constellation Research, live from Atlanta, where we just finished the Infor Analyst Summit. I'm here with my friends, esteemed colleagues, Ray and Mike. What are your takeaways?
Well, if anything, I think what we've seen is the continued consolidation of both data. I mean, certainly multiple use cases of customers coming in, talking about, massive data coming in from like 9, 10 different ERP systems now, really consolidated, simplified. But the real story here was around process. I mean, actually AI getting a job. That means process orientation. And this, there was some discussion around, productivity tools, chatbots, really not dropping to the bottom line of AI, to the bottom line of the company. But it's really now that we're looking at process, how do we start really bringing AI into the process? That you have what the boards love. You have measurable, you have accountability, and you actually have a way to continue to iterate on continuing to improve that process.
Yeah, I want to add to your point, right? It's really important, right? Right. AI is getting a job, right? And AI is getting a job. And part of it is also the risk mitigation aspects that's there. Companies are actually looking for that capability. And what we've seen in the shift is really in the personas, right? It's not selling just to a CIO or CFO or CHRO in this case. It's actually now going to the CEO. That's right. And what we've learned over the last, I'd say, 6 months is the CEOs are taking the role of leading the AI initiatives, and then everything's falling down from there. But of course, it's always the business requirements. And here at Infor, there's 60 specific subverticals and industries. They've gone deep into the process. We've been talking a long time that it's about experience, not expertise. They're bringing that expertise together around industry value chains, and that's driving it. So Holger, what's happening in the platform that making this different to be able to support this? Because this is not like ERP and HCM and workforce management floating around here.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about Infor, who started with an EAP, an enterprise application platform, earliest back in 2013. An EAP is helping companies to integrate for data, to extend the existing system, and to build new things. It's all about what we talked about before now, about building agentic applications, which are using what Michael was saying in post-intelligence graph, but also the vertical capabilities, all of that put together. And that's one of the first things we saw here, a really consistent conversational UX, right? Which pulls into the conversational experience the content of both from a data lake perspective and from a transaction perspective in one user experience.
And Mike, they're looking about cloud migration, they're talking about process mining, they're talking about RPA, automation, AI, it's all coming together and it's sitting in there. Do you think they've got data decisions here, Mike?
They're actually building the baseline for that. And they're doing it because they have the full vertical. If anything, it's something you're hearing in the industry, which is they're executing on the business domain context graph. I mean, I hate to use that word over and over again because we're starting to get into the world of context washing. But you really are seeing that depth of expertise where you're bringing in the semantics they get from Burst, you're bringing in together the process in the IPC, they call it, which is all of the, hundreds of thousands of different processes they have down to the micro verticals that they actually focus in on. It's not breadth, this is about depth.
Holger, I mean, we were at the beginning of Infor Ion.
Yes,
I mean, this thing has come a long way.
Wow.
I mean,
now we're going back.
We've got a platform here that actually could be separated from the rest of the company. Are we there yet?
Correct. I mean, technology-wise, absolutely there. And with an amazing productivity, right? To where you go to an analyst event where in the last session of the briefings, the HCM session, you learn a substring that they've built over 200 agents, which leverage over 2,000 tools, which is unheard of for the whole HCM space, which begs all the different type of questions. But the platform really works. The AI factory, which builds the agents behind the works, it's all running in the public cloud on AWS. So it's a platform which is so important right now because people don't know how to run their processes in the 21st century.
Yeah, that's right.
Not just to mention AI, just infinite computing. Like what to do with infinite compute? How many times do I close my books? Do I close them all the time? In every aspect of the stack. And this means experimentation. And experimentation happens with platforms and the APIs.
Well, what's what we see in every part of this event is not about, hey, I selected this, I bought this. It's I put this in and it works, right? And that's the one thing we saw about the customer case studies. We can't name the customers for confidentiality reasons, but these are big airlines, these are big industries, these are manufacturers, discrete process,
and
these
global
big projects.
Global, not just from the US. Before it was very US centric, right? That's the biggest difference to before. I mean, you can look up for the case studies in our library, right? Miller Industries, we're inviting about a great case study.
Of course.
But I mean, I remember the name because Miller Industries, right? not relationship, not this, but new customers, right? So definitely more momentum of people adopting the Velocity Suite, which is always interesting.
Yeah, and then sort of on the discrete and the process side, we're saying deep depth. That whole point about going to depth, not breadth, is important. I think what they've done is, I mean, look, we're in an era where you've got to know your business processes down to the level, and you have to know how they're interconnected on the upstream and the downstream part of the data. When you bring that together, then you can really think about automation. All this stuff about automation and AI, you shouldn't even go there if you don't even understand your processes and what the implications are.
And Ray, I think you hit the main point, which was the speed at which this goes into. One of my favorite case studies, I met with discrete manufacturer, and they were talking about the fact that they were able to get into not just the process and understand the process mining aspect of it, but they took a very much a multi-object view, so they can actually look at how the process, the PO, affected by vendors are affecting their downstream process to be able to hit their SLAs. And how are they able to do this within 3 weeks of going live on it? It's because the data was actually there. The process and the models were actually already baked into the platform. And that gets into that level of vertical integration.
Well, if you're an Infor customer, there's great news in front of you. If you're an Infor prospect, why should people consider Infor? Mike?
It's around speed to value. When you have that level of understanding of the vertical that you're delivering in, you're able to get to process and automation very quickly.
What about you, Holger?
Yeah, and the speed to value comes from the platform automation that Infor has played in the past, right? They have a data lake since 2013.
Yes.
All the ERP competition announced a data lake in 2025. None of them are even operational. So that at some point is showable, visible in products, and the velocity, pun intended here with the velocity suite, to build the automation that you need in the agentic AI era.
You know, for me, it's about interoperability. In the long run, there's an IT-OT integration that's going to have to happen. We're getting to the point where observability gets us to situational awareness. And really, at the end of the day, what companies want to be able to do is they need to manage their precision and their order of operations. And this is what we're seeing today. So live here from Infor, we're here in Atlanta. And more importantly, we're near the new Infor headquarters will be opening up pretty soon. So see you, everybody.